Chapter 423. Chapter start. Fahua Temple. After chatting with Lu Chongshan that day, Yanrui took some time off and rushed to the temple early in the morning. The temple was full of incense. Early in the morning, it was crowded with people. Yanrui lit an incense stick, and then stood in the side hall to wait. Very soon a young novice monk walked over, put his palms together and said, Ba. Benefactor Yen is here. Yanrui returned the greeting and asked nervously, Little master, what did Master Xianjing say? The abbot has been waiting in the inner hall for a long time. Benefactor Yen, please follow me, said the little monk. Ah. Master Xianjing agreed. That was great. Thank you, thank you. Yanrui happily followed the young novice monk to the meditation room in the backyard with a stack of socialites' birthdays in her pocket. The courtyard was paved with a blue stone path, and at the end of it was a red maple forest. In the lotus pond in front of the house, a few egrets were combing their feathers. Looking at the quiet courtyard in front of them, they couldn't help but calm down. At the door of Xianjing's meditation room, the young novice monk stood still with a solemn expression. Abbot, Benefactor Yen is here. A moment later, an old monk holding a Buddhist staff walked out of the house. The old monk was dressed in a gray kasaya and had an otherworldly temperament, as if he was an otherworldly person. Benefactor Yen, this old monk has failed to welcome you from afar. Master, you're too kind. I'm really sorry to trouble you this time. I can't believe such a small matter would take up your time to serve the Bodhisattva. Looking at the old monk's aura, Yanrui immediately trusted him and thought to herself, Fortunately, I found Master Xianjing. She had met Long Fanning once. At that time, she had thought that she was very imposing, but now that she had met Master Xianjing, she realized that Long Fanning was deliberately impetuous. Almsgiver Yen, you're being too serious. It's nothing much. You and almsgiver Lu offer incense every year, repair the golden body of Bodhisattva, and help the poor and the weak. It's a great kindness. You flatter me, great master. This is what I should do. After exchanging a few pleasantries, they got down to business. Yanrui took out all the 8 characters from her bag and placed them on the table. She then took out a single piece of Lu Tingxiao's 8 characters. Master, it's all here. Please take a look. Xianjing nodded, picked up the book, and began to read it. Yanrui didn't dare to disturb him and waited quietly at the side. Every time Xianjing looked at a piece of paper, she would annotate a few sentences on the back. After a while, she finally finished reading all the 8 characters. Yanrui was a little anxious when she saw that Xianjing's expression did not change from beginning to end. She asked, Master, are there any girls among them who have good horoscopes with my Ting Xiao? Master Xianjing shook his head. No. Did this mean that all the girls were average? Although none of them were particularly incompatible with him. None of them were compatible with him? Hearing this, Yanrui couldn't help but be somewhat disappointed. Unreconciled, she carefully looked at Grandmaster's approval. Sure enough, they were all about the same. There wasn't a single one that stood out a bit. Yanrui read it over and over again, and finally accepted it. She nodded absent-mindedly. Thank you, Master. You're welcome, Benefactor Yen. Then, Great Master, I won't bother you any longer. Goodbye. Yanrui was about to leave when she suddenly stopped in her tracks. She suddenly remembered that there was someone else's horoscope in her bag. It was the girl named Ning Shi. She didn't know what she was thinking. Before she left, she actually asked someone to get that girl's horoscope. Now, should she let Grandmaster take a look at it? Chapter 424. However, if Lu Chongshan found out that she had used this girl's horoscope to test her horoscope, he would definitely fly into a rage. Yanrui was in a dilemma. She flipped over the piece of paper and glanced at it. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Seeing that there was something wrong with her expression, Xianjing asked, Does Benefactor Yen have any unfinished business? Yanrui came back to her senses and hurriedly put the piece of paper back. In the end, she was still worried that Lu Chongshan would get angry, and she felt that it was really unnecessary to test the girl, so she hurriedly said goodbye. No more, no more. Master, please continue with your work. With that, he turned around and left. However, due to her hasty movements, A piece of brownish-yellow paper fluttered out of her bag and fell to the ground. Yanrui didn't notice it and kept walking forward. Behind him, Xianjing saw it and bent down to pick it up. "Benefactor Yan, please wait. You left something behind." As he spoke, Xianjing stared at the 8 characters on the piece of paper with a hint of surprise on his face. "This birth chart." Yanrui heard Grandmaster's voice behind her and hastily turned around. In the end, she saw Grandmaster holding Ningxi's 8 characters in his hand, and his expression that hadn't changed since just now had clearly changed. When Yanrui saw this, her heart skipped a beat. "Master, what do you think of these 8 characters?" Xianjing looked at Ningxi's 8 characters for a long time, and then said, "Benefactor Yan, can you show me your son's 8 characters again?" "Of course." Yanrui hurriedly took out Lu Ting's horoscope and handed it to Xianjing with both hands. At the same time, she felt even more nervous. Xianjing took the 2 people's 8 characters and laid them flat on the low table. Then she carefully considered it. Yanrui stood at the side, trembling with anxiety. Grandmaster's expression was so grave. Could it be because this woman was Ting Xiao's nemesis? Was it because of Ting Xiao's great calamity? After waiting for a long time, Xianjing finally said in a low voice, "This guy's fate is lonely, and his life is full of tribulations. His fate is full of tribulations. It is inevitable that his son will be punished by his husband. If he doesn't leave, he will be widowed. If he remarries in another place, he is doomed to be lonely all his life." Yanrui turned pale with fright when she heard that. Isn't this a jinx? Oh my god! Kezi Xingfu. Ting Xiao. Xiaobao. Yanrui was immersed in great fear when Xianjing suddenly asked, "I wonder if almsgiver Yan remembers the result of my test with your son many years ago." "I remember, of course I remember." Yanrui's face was filled with lingering fear. Back then, Ting Xiao's horoscope was very dangerous. Xianjing said, "All those who have power need to carry evil, and the star of power needs to be supported by evil. The great good of the 5 elements have no evil. And even if they have the star of power, their lives will be lonely. As the saying goes, it's hard to find a way to satisfy both sides in this world. The 5 elements are harmonious, and there is no evil. It's just that one's lifespan is long, and ordinary people only need food and clothing. Once the evil powers gather, they will be respected by tens of thousands of people, and they will inevitably be punished and die alone. This is the reason." "But Master, didn't you say that our Ting Xiao's life providence was destroyed after Little Treasure was born 5 years ago?" Yanrui asked anxiously. Xianjing nodded. 5 years ago, there were indeed signs of it being resolved. Then, what does Ting Xiao's horoscope have to do with this jinx woman? A mysterious expression appeared on Xianjing's face. "Coincidentally, this kid's fate is the same as your son's. It suddenly changed 5 years ago." "Changed?" Yanrui was extremely flustered and couldn't help but urge, "Master, just tell me directly. What kind of life providence does this woman have? Can it subdue my Ting Xiao?" Chapter 425. Yanrui was obviously prepared for the worst. She asked eagerly, "Master, do you have a way to resolve it? As long as my son's calamity can be resolved, I'll do anything you want me to do." Xianjing shook his head and comforted her. "Don't be too nervous, Benefactor Yan. Please listen to me carefully." Worried that Yanrui wouldn't understand, Xianjing tried to explain in an easy-to-understand tone. "Judging from the divination, this kid is indeed born with a heavenly cursed lonesome star. However, Benefactor Yan, if a person born with a heavenly cursed lonesome star has a benefactor in his life, and is located in a land of immortality, then he will be able to receive both power and fortune. Or he can learn Buddhism and Taoism, do good deeds and increase his karma. Through his own efforts and cultivation, he can also change his fate." Yanrui did not dare to interrupt again. Even though she was anxious, she listened patiently and quietly. Under Yanrui's extremely nervous gaze, Xianjing finally made a conclusion. "If I'm not wrong now, this child is seeking for a rich fortune, a prosperous family, and a prosperous family. Unparalleled fortune, a prosperous husband, and a prosperous family." Listening to Master Xianjing's words, Yanrui was stunned and almost could not believe her ears. "Master, what What did you just say? Just a second ago, she was still a jinx, but in the next second, how did she become a person with unparalleled fortune? A person who would bring prosperity to her husband and family, and who would have many children and good fortune. Xianjing touched his white beard inside. The most rare thing is that the timing of this child's fate change is too coincidental with your son's. I suspect that there is some connection between them. However, with my cultivation, I can't say for sure at the moment. What I can be sure of is that if this child is fated with your son, there are only benefits and no harm. Yan Rui finally reacted and stammered. This means that this girl's 8 characters are not only incompatible with my son's, but also very compatible? Indeed. Master Xianjing nodded and then did not forget to remind. The heavenly Tao is impermanent, and nothing is absolute. The divination can only take a glimpse, just like the sudden change of your son's divination 5 years ago. Therefore, I hope Benefactor Yin doesn't take it to heart and don't believe everything. Everything depends on your own fate. I understand. Thank you for your guidance, Master. Yan Rui's expression was blank. She put away the 2 pieces of paper on the short table and left with Xianjing. Even after leaving the temple, Yan Rui still couldn't believe it. She had carefully selected so many socialites, and all of them had excellent family backgrounds and characters, but none of them were suitable. In the end, it was actually this Ningxi who was so outstanding. Just now, Grandmaster's words of advice could be said to be every word of praise. The Lu family's old residence. Lu Chongshan was sitting on the sofa in the living room reading the newspaper. When he saw Yan Rui, he looked up and asked, "What's the result?" Yan Rui's expression was a little tired. Apart from Ningxi's, she handed the other people's horoscopes to him. The master has comments on all of them. Take a look yourself. The gist of it is that although none of them are incompatible, none of them are compatible either. Lu Chongshan looked as if he had expected it. He picked it up and looked at it nonchalantly. It's fine as long as it doesn't conflict with each other. Seeing that Lu Chongshan was looking at those socialites' horoscopes, Yan Rui wanted to say something several times but stopped herself. Should she tell him about Ningxi's horoscope? Although from Grandmaster's words, Ningxi and Tingxiao were a match made in heaven, didn't Grandmaster also say that nothing was absolute? Given Lu Chongshan's character, if he knew that she had secretly tested Ningxi's horoscope, he probably wouldn't believe her even if he scolded her. Yan Rui thought about it and made a decision. Forget it. It wouldn't be too late to observe for a while. Chapter 426. In the morning, the first thing Ningxi did when she woke up was to go to Shengshi Entertainment to report the good news to Lin Jiji. The script had been finalized. Coincidentally, Lin Jiji also had good news. The money had been paid. So soon. Ningxi was a little surprised. Yes, because your live broadcast with Jiang Mai last night was very good. The game company was very satisfied and transferred the money in advance, Lin Jiji explained. Ningxi was overjoyed. That's great. She decided not to beat Jiang Mai. It should have been transferred. Check the account later, Lin Jiji said. Okay. Ningxi was about to reply when she received a new text message. It was a bank transfer. Sister Jiji, I got it. Lin Jiji chuckled. That's good. You don't have work today. Go out and relax. In the past, Lin Jiji was too cold, especially after she became famous. She had a negative feeling that nothing could arouse her interest or enthusiasm. Now seeing Ningxi full of energy, Lin Jiji's heart, which had been in the entertainment industry for so many years, started beating again. Ningxi nodded. Thank you, Sister Jiji. Thank the company. After leaving the company, Ningxi went back to her apartment. The first thing she did was to find 2 bank accounts and transfer 100,000 to one and 50,000 to the other. Soon she received a call. Ningxi picked it up happily. Hello, President Tao. How are you? An elderly woman's voice came from the other end of the phone. Good. Everything is fine here. Miss Ning, did you transfer money to the orphanage again? Ningxi nodded. Yes, I've received my salary. The voice on the other end of the phone was very anxious. But it's too much this time. 100,000 yuan. I know you care about the children, but you have to make a living yourself. Don't worry, President. I still have a lot of money. I didn't donate all of it. Don't worry. It's going to be winter soon. Buy some clothes and quilts for the children. Okay, I'll accept it. Thank you on behalf of the children. Take care of yourself. Don't overwork yourself. Got it. Thank you, President. After hanging up, Ningxi's heart warmed. This orphanage was funded by her 5 years ago. Unfortunately, she didn't have much money left in the past. Now she could finally contribute a little more. As for the other 50,000, she sent it to her adoptive parents. She had never gone back to her adoptive parents all these years, and she still felt guilty. He didn't transfer too much because he knew that they wouldn't accept it if he did. In this way, she still had half of her endorsement fee left, which was 150,000 yuan. It was enough for her to go out and have fun. Her concept of financial management had always been to enjoy life in a timely manner. She never left any savings. Usually, when she got the money, other than leaving some money for food, the rest would be spent very quickly. However, she inadvertently looked at the calendar and realized that it was going to be her grandfather's birthday soon. Forget it, I'll just bear with it for a while. I'll go buy a birthday present first. After all, the Ning family was a wealthy family. The old man would not be very close to his granddaughter like a grandfather of an ordinary family, but he still cared about her very much. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu only knew to blame and disgust her for not knowing etiquette and other shameful behaviors. Only the old master would privately call her over to correct them one by one. Although his attitude was strict, it was definitely for her good. Later, after she left home, Grandfather Sheng tried to persuade her to go back several times. Unfortunately, she could not fulfill the old man's wish. Chapter 427. The busiest shopping mall in the center of the capital. Ningxi wandered around and finally decided to buy some jade ornaments. The old man believed in Buddhism and liked jade, so it would be suitable to buy a jade bead bracelet. When it came to buying jade, the best place in the capital was naturally Baoyu Pavilion, a chain brand of jade ware owned by Lu Enterprises. As a die-hard fan of the Great Demon King, out of blind trust in her boss, Ningxi didn't look at the other houses and went straight to the Treasure Jade Pavilion. After seeing Ningxi, a chubby boss in a retro vest with a pair of shrewd small eyes immediately greeted her warmly. "Beauty, what do you want to buy?" Ningxi was dressed very casually today. Generally, no one would pay attention to her when she walked on the street. But when she looked closely, her beautiful face immediately attracted everyone's attention. Although the boss didn't know the person in front of him, he judged that she was probably a small star, and from her appearance, he could tell that she was rich. Even if she was not famous, she could easily find a rich man, so he immediately came to greet her in person. Ningxi looked at the dazzling array of jade ornaments on the counter and felt a little dizzy. "My grandfather is celebrating his 70th birthday, and I want to buy a jade bead bracelet for him. Do you have any recommendations?" Yes, of course. The boss immediately opened the cabinet with the key and carefully took out a few bracelets. "Beauty, you really came at the right time. We just got a new batch of goods. Look at this waterhead, this quality, all of them are of the highest quality. You will definitely be honored if you give them to someone." Although Ningxi didn't know much about jade ornaments, she knew they were expensive from the boss's words. She hesitated and asked, "How much is one?" "The price varies about 1 or 2 million. Of course, there are better ones. If you are not satisfied with these, I will get you other good ones." The boss's eyes lit up. Seeing that the boss kept recommending such expensive jade ornaments to her, Ningxi's mouth twitched slightly. Did she look very rich? "Ahem, no need, boss. Do you have a cheaper one?" Ningxi could only cough lightly to interrupt the boss's introduction. "A cheaper one?" The boss was stunned for a moment, then looked at Ningxi up and down, then took back the bracelets with embarrassment. However, he still put on a smile and said, "There are cheaper ones, beauty, come here and take a look." The quality here was slightly worse, but it was still not bad. The price was also reasonable, only 700,000 to 800,000 would be enough. "I'll give you another discount. You can get it for 600,000. Ningxi pinched the space between her eyebrows and said directly, "What about a cheaper one? Is there anyone within 150,000? 150,000? When the boss heard this, his smiling face immediately collapsed, and his tone dropped a few degrees. Beautiful lady, although 150,000 doesn't seem to be a small amount, it can only be used to bluff those who don't know the ropes. This amount of money can't buy you anything good. Since this is a birthday gift for the elderly, you should put in more effort, especially for things like Buddhist beads. You can't be stingy with this kind of money. Ningxi smiled carelessly. What the boss said is reasonable, but the gift is not the price. I'll do my best, which means I've done my best. The boss chuckled as if he was mocking her, but he didn't show it on his face. He closed the cabinet, flicked his sleeves and said, "Then take your time to choose, beautiful lady. This row is all under 150,000, and that row is even cheaper, about 10,000 if." Chapter 428. Hee if it's any cheaper. I suggest you go to another shop. Our Treasure Jade Pavilion doesn't make those low-class goods. After saying this, the boss left without saying anything else. 150,000 yuan might be a big order for others, but what a joke, he was the boss of the precious Jade Pavilion. There were many rich people in this area, and he often received big orders of more than 1,000,000 yuan. How could a mere 100,000 yuan be qualified for him to personally serve? This was the attitude of these kinds of bosses and stores. Ningxi was prepared before choosing Treasure Jade Pavilion, so she wasn't surprised. She didn't mind and continued to focus on picking up the bracelets. After all, Treasure Jade Pavilion's quality was guaranteed. Even if it was a 100,000 yuan item, it was definitely better than others. Suddenly, a slightly familiar voice came from behind her. TSK, what a joke. If you don't have money, just say it. Who are you talking to? Do you think the owner is an idiot? Ningxi looked in the direction of the voice and raised her eyebrows. It was really a small world for enemies. The person speaking was Liang Biqin, who was dressed in Chanel haute couture, and the person next to her was Su Yimo, who was wearing a goddess dress as usual. There were a few familiar-looking girls next to them. They were all artists who liked to suck up to Su Yimo and were close to her. "Oh, my great goddess Su, what kind of wind blew you here? I was wondering why I kept hearing magpies chirping on my balcony today. So it's a distinguished guest." The owner with small eyes saw them and immediately went up to greet them, as if he was on steroids. His mouth was full of pleasantries. It wasn't just because of Su Yimo's popularity. Most importantly, she was the woman most likely to become the lady boss of Lu Group. How could he cajole her? Especially recently, there had been rumors in the company that Lu Tingxiao spoiled Su Yimo to the point that he brought her to the company. The rumors were very convincing. Therefore, this matter was definitely not far from the truth. "Great goddess Su, please come in. Xiao Yu, go to the back and bring out the best goods in the store. Xiao Chui, go and make some tea. Use the Tai Guanyin tea that I bought last time." The boss ordered. The employees in the shop poured tea and said nice things. They were all busy surrounding Su Yimo. After all, everyone wanted to show their faces in front of their future lady boss. No matter how cold Su Yimo pretended to be, she was amused by her boss's flattery. "You don't have to be so polite, I'm just looking around." The boss immediately vowed. "Miss Su, it's my honor to serve you. How can you say I'm being polite? I can't be too polite." Liang Biqin glanced triumphantly at Ningxi, who was standing alone at the counter, and said with a smile, "Boss, did you smear honey on your mouth? You're getting better at talking." "Miss Liang, look at what you're saying. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart." As the boss spoke, he took the goods from the shop assistant and carefully placed them in front of Su Yimo. Su Yimo casually picked up a translucent jade bracelet. "New. I didn't see it last time. Miss Su, you have a good eye. It's indeed a new batch of goods. Every one of them is good. Of course, no matter how good it is, it's still not enough to match Goddess Su's status. If you don't mind, you can pick some." The boss rubbed his hands excitedly. Chapter 429. Liang Biqin touched the bracelets excitedly and couldn't help but praise. "Cousin, these jade ornaments are so beautiful. No wonder you like jade. Only jade can match up to your extraordinary temperament." "That's right, other gold and silver ornaments are too vulgar. The female artists next to her all chimed in, and then stared at the jade ornaments in front of Su Yimo with glowing eyes. One of them curled her lips and said, "Boss, we've never seen you bring out such good stuff when we usually come here. Boss, you're too biased. But it's no wonder. Only Yimo is worthy of such good jade. We'd better not embarrass ourselves." Listening to the flattery, Su Yimo curled her lips and looked proud. She seemed to have taken a liking to the bracelet, and was playing with it in her hand. Liang Biqin seemed to have thought of something. She suddenly glanced at Ningxi and drawled, saying to the boss, "Boss, what's wrong with you? Isn't it a little inappropriate for you to do this?" The boss panicked. What's inappropriate? But how did I fail to serve you well? Miss Liang, please testify. I'll change it right away. Change it right away. Liang Biqin stared at Ningxi impudently and said pointedly, "It's not that your service isn't satisfactory. It's that you're too considerate. Everyone is here and no one is looking after the shop. What if some poor bastard takes the opportunity to steal a piece of jade from you? Then you'll suffer a huge loss." When the boss heard this, he subconsciously looked at Ningxi. After all, apart from Su Yimo and the others, Ningxi was the only one in the shop who was choosing jade bracelets. At first, he thought this woman was a big deal, but who knew she was so stingy and poor? The boss nodded with a serious expression. "Miss Liang, you're right. Thank you for your advice." Then he immediately ordered the shop assistant, "Xiao Yu, go and keep an eye on her." "Ha! I'll go." Xiao Yu pointed at her own nose. "That's you. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go. If she loses anything, you'll be held responsible." "Yes, boss." The clerk called Xiao Yu moved to the counter on Ningxi's side reluctantly. Seeing that Ningxi was engrossed in examining a jade Buddha bracelet, Little Yu's words were polite, but his face was already unable to conceal his impatience. "This customer, you've already chosen for so long, I wonder if you've finished choosing?" Everyone else was trying to please the lady boss. She was the only one who was sent here. How could she not be anxious? Right now, all she wanted was for this woman to quickly buy her things and leave. Ningxi was focused on the Buddhist jade beads in her hand, so she didn't see the shop assistant's impatient expression. She casually asked, "Does this string of Buddhist beads have any meaning?" Ningxi thought that when she gave it to her grandpa, it would be auspicious. As soon as he said that, Liang Biqin's sarcastic and exaggerated laughter came from the other side. "What meaning can a jade ornament of this price have? He could just buy whatever he wanted. You're just a country bumpkin, yet you still want to learn from others and pay attention to the meaning." His companion next to him also sneered. "This is a typical case of pretending to be pretentious despite having no money." Liang Biqin had a smug look on her face. "Didn't I say it before? This country bumpkin is really embarrassing herself. TSK, I really don't want to admit that I'm actually in the same company as this kind of person." Second young master had such good taste in the past, and the people he poached were all pretty good. This time, he really made a mistake, right? What's even funnier is that there are always people comparing her to EMO. This woman isn't even worthy of carrying shoes for EMO, okay? Chapter 430. At the same time, in a luxury jewelry store opposite the Precious Jade Pavilion. Young Master Emo, do you still want these clothes?" The store manager asked carefully. The man he asked was handsome and looked a little ruffian. He was dressed casually with one hand in his pocket, and was staring at the opposite side with great interest. He waved his hand casually and said, "Except for the few that I picked out, wrap up the rest." "Okay. Young Master Emo, I'll make a list for you now. Do you want me to send them to your address?" The store manager was so happy that his face was about to blossom. "Okay, send them." Mo Lingtian brushed him off impatiently, and continued to look in the direction of the treasured jade pavilion with interest. While looking, he took out his cell phone and started to call someone. "Hello." The man's cold voice came from the other end of the phone. "Hello, Lu Tingxiao. I heard that you went to Philadelphia for a business trip. Why did he go to that godforsaken place for no reason? Why don't you go out to sea with me?" "Pa." The person on the other end of the phone actually hung up the phone. Hung up. "Fuck." Mo Lingtian stared at his cell phone in disbelief. Fuck. He actually hung up on me. Mo Lingtian dialed again angrily. As soon as the call got through, he began to curse. Fuck, Lu Tingxiao. Do you need to waste your time just to talk to me for a bit? You actually hung up on me. Maybe you want to be hung up a second time? The voice on the other end of the phone was not joking. If he continued to talk nonsense, he would really be hung up again. Mo Lingtian clenched his teeth, glanced at the women in front of him, and said angrily, Fuck, I called you out of kindness to inform you that your woman is being bullied and bitten by a group of mad dogs. How could you do this to me? Do you have any conscience? The person on the other end of the phone paused for a moment, and then said one word. Who? Mo Lingtian snorted proudly. Fuck, you hid it from me so well. Do you think I won't know if you hide it from me? Isn't it that unknown celebrity? What's her name? Oh yes, Ningxi. Last night, I accidentally clicked on a very popular live broadcast. Guess what I saw? Fuck, I actually saw that celebrity doing a live broadcast in your study. That was insane. Let me tell you. Lu Tingxiao interrupted him coldly. Tell me the details. Mo Lingtian choked. Oh. It really was her. He was so nervous that he said so many words. Mo Lingtian. His tone was obviously threatening. Mo Lingtian could tell that something was wrong with his tone, and guessed that he had something urgent to deal with. Thus, Mo Lingtian did not dare to keep him in suspense anymore. He pursed his lips and said, The location is your family's precious jade pavilion. Characters. Your real lover Ningxi, your rumored girlfriend Su Yimo, and a number of extras. Is that clear enough? Do you want me to be clearer? Pa. The phone was hung up again. Mo Lingtian cursed in a low voice, fuck. Burning the bridge after crossing the river. At this moment, the store manager came over with a face full of smiles. Young Master Mo, the clothes you wanted have all been packed. Yes. Mo Lingtian nodded but did not leave immediately. Instead, he raised his eyebrows and ordered, Bring a chair for me. Ah. Chair. The store manager was confused. What ah? Hurry up and go. The scenery here is good. Do you have a problem with me sitting here and enjoying the scenery for a while? No. I'll move it now. I'll go now. The store manager wiped his sweat and quickly went to move the chair. Although these rich people were generous, none of them were easy to please. Chapter 431. Liang Biqin and the others mocked Ningxi again and again in front of the shop owner and employees. Each sentence was harsher than the last. They wanted to make Ningxi lose her composure and embarrass herself on the spot to take revenge for what happened at the company that day. When Ningxi saw that everyone was fawning over Su Yimo, she was happy to have some peace and quiet. However, when she heard those people suddenly turn to her, her eyes turned and she looked at them in surprise. Aya, isn't this great beauty Liang Senior Su and my colleagues? You're here to buy jade too? Were you talking to me just now? Liang Biqin, who was waiting for Ningxi to say that, almost vomited blood. Are you blind? We've been here for so long and you've only seen us now. So all that scolding was for nothing? Was it all just a one-man show? Not far away, the man holding a cup of tea couldn't help but spit it out. TSK. He thought this girl was a little white rabbit, but it seemed like she had claws too. And very sneaky. The female artist next to her hurriedly tried to help. Biqin, forget it. What's there to say to people with mental problems? Liang Biqin gritted her teeth. You're right. Not only is there something wrong with her brain, but her eyesight is also bad. I can't even have peace when I buy jade. Su Yimo, who had been silent all this time, muttered unhappily. She picked up the jade bracelet that caught her eye at first glance and said without even asking about the price, Boss, I'll take this one. Wrap it up for me. Seeing that the future mistress seemed to be angry, the shop owner panicked and said carefully, Goddess Su has good taste. You picked it out casually, but it's the best jade bracelet in our shop. Alright, I'll wrap it up for you right now. With that, he quickly wrapped it up exquisitely. Su Yimo asked Liang Biqin to take the jade bracelet and gave the shop owner a card. The shop owner chuckled. Miss Su, there's no need to pay. Su Yimo raised her eyebrows. What do you mean, boss? The boss rubbed his hands eagerly. Miss Su, I'm really sorry for my neglect today. Please take this jade bracelet as a token of my apology. Please accept it. If you don't accept it, I'll be so worried that I won't be able to sleep at night. Give it to my cousin? Liang Biqin looked surprised and stuttered. Such an expensive jade bracelet, how could he just give it away? The Lu group was indeed rich and overbearing. Even the owner of a jade shop branch was so generous. If that big shop became her brother-in-law one day, wouldn't it be? Liang Biqin recovered her composure after being snorted at by Su Yimo. Boss, you're good at doing things. We won't make things difficult for you. I'll accept this jade bracelet on behalf of my cousin. Su Yimo didn't say anything, tacitly agreeing. Thank you, Miss Liang. Thank you, Miss Su. Thank you very much. The shop owner immediately let out a sigh of relief. Then he secretly took a step forward and said in a low voice, I hope that Miss Su can put in a good word for me in front of President Lu in the future. Although the shop owner's motive was too obvious, Su Yimo felt relieved when she heard it. You're quite clever. You want me to pass a message for you with such a small thing? The shop owner quickly wiped his sweat. How would I dare? I definitely didn't mean that. Chapter 432. Seeing him so nervous and panicked, Su Yimo felt a sense of superiority. She calmed down and said, Although I won't purposely speak for anyone, boss, you're indeed conscientious and hardworking. Naturally, Boss Lu will see that. Hearing this, the boss knew he had a chance. He immediately smiled and thanked her profusely, trying to make his presence known. Thank you, Miss Su. Actually, we still have a lot of good stuff in our shop. If you're not in a hurry, why don't you take a look? Before Su Yimo could speak, Liang Biqin sneered. My good mood has been ruined. What's there to look at? The boss immediately glared at Ning Shi and said coldly, Miss over there, you've been picking for so long. If you're not going to buy it, then leave. Don't disturb my business. Don't you see I have a distinguished guest to entertain? Hearing this, Su Yimo said slowly, Boss, she's a customer after all. It's not good to chase her away like this, right? Those who don't know better might think I'm a narrow-minded person. The boss panicked. Miss Su, it's not like that. How could it have anything to do with you? It's mainly because we've been selling a lot of low-grade jade ornaments at a special price recently, which attracted a lot of people like that woman to buy them. Actually, this kind of situation has never happened before. Miss Su, you know that the quality here is high. Who doesn't have millions of orders? I'm actually going to take these jade ornaments off the shelves in a few days. Otherwise, we won't have time to deal with those people when there are so many orders, and we're understaffed. Otherwise, I'll take them off the shelves now. I promise there won't be a similar situation in the future. What do you think? Ning Shi touched her chin and looked at the eloquent boss in amazement. She thought, the Demon King's subordinates are really talented. His level of flattery is really amazing. The boss's lips were dry. Finally, Su Yimo said, You're the boss. Of course you can make the decision. Hearing Su Yimo's approval, the boss breathed a sigh of relief and turned to Ning Shi. His attitude became even worse. I'm talking to you. Did you hear what I said just now? We don't sell these cheap, low-grade jade ornaments anymore. If you want to buy them, go somewhere else. As expected, Su Yimo seemed to be in a better mood. The boss naturally had to continue to flatter his future mistress. As he was trying his best to chase people away, he suddenly caught a glimpse of 3 men in suits and leather shoes not far away. They were walking straight toward the direction of the shop. The boss glanced at them and was shocked, especially when he saw the middle-aged man with a crew cut. How could this be? Why did this master suddenly come here? The higher-ups didn't inform him at all. Could it be an incognito visit? No. Could it be that he heard that Su Yimo was here, so he came personally? TSK, as expected, everyone had received the news. Fortunately, he had flattered them early. Even if they came again now, they would only flatter him. With that in mind, the boss immediately figured it out and felt relieved. He hurriedly squeezed out an attentive smile, and eagerly trotted toward the middle-aged man in the lead. You. Who knew that as soon as he said one word, the middle-aged man in the lead and the 2 people behind him didn't even look at him. They strode straight toward the starlet who had just offended Suyimo. The boss was dumbfounded. "Yi, what are you doing?" Chapter 433. By then, the boss of Treasure Jade Pavilion had already called the security guard over. He was prepared to chase Ningxi out if she still refused to leave. Today could have been a little more perfect. It was all this woman's fault for messing up the situation and almost offending his great benefactor. She refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Ningxi casually glanced at the security guard, who could not even withstand a kick from her. Just as she was about to speak, a very polite voice came from behind her. "Miss, are you looking to buy jade?" Ningxi raised her head and looked at the middle-aged man. "I want to buy jade." "Why?" The middle-aged man nodded slightly and said respectfully, "May I have the honor of serving you?" Ningxi sized up the man in front of her. Judging from his tone and cautious attitude, he should be a shop assistant. She said, "I don't think so. Your boss just said that we don't have enough manpower. We're not selling low-end and cheap jade ornaments." Hearing this, the middle-aged man turned slightly and looked in the direction of the boss. The boss's legs trembled when he saw the middle-aged man's stern gaze. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and did not dare to say a word. The security guard had already hidden to the side, trying his best to reduce his presence. The middle-aged man quickly turned to Ningxi again. After considering his words, he said, "Even so, there are still other choices. Although Treasure Jade Pavilion is a high-end store, it is also very friendly to the people. The reason why those jade ornaments were taken off the shelves was because they were flawed. Please understand, Mississippi. Didn't the boss purposely take them off the shelves to please Suyimo?" But this shop assistant's explanation seemed to be flawless. Ningxi was still in a hurry to pick out a birthday gift. She did not think much and nodded casually. "Oh, I see. I'll buy them elsewhere." She then turned to leave. The middle-aged man hurriedly stopped Ningxi. "Wait. Miss, what I mean is, other than those flawed items, we have more suitable items for you." He then gave the two young men behind him a look. The two young men each carried a black suitcase. After receiving the order, they opened the suitcase together, held it in their hands, and placed it in front of Ningxi. The middle-aged man gestured for Ningxi to look at the items in the suitcases and explained, "These are the items we just received urgently. Miss, take a look and see if there's anything you like." Such a coincidence? Ningxi was a little surprised. Serving every customer to the best of our ability is our highest goal. The middle-aged man replied with an extremely serious expression. Ningxi walked over and took a look. Although she didn't know much about jade ornaments, she could tell from their aesthetic point of view that they were indeed good. She pondered and said, "They seem to be better than the ones I saw just now." The middle-aged man's tense body relaxed a little because of these words. "It's good that you're satisfied, Mississippi. What kind of style do you want to buy? Do you want to use it yourself or give it to someone else? I can give you some suggestions as a reference." Not far away, seeing the middle-aged man serving Ningxi attentively, Liang Bichin's face darkened, and she said to the boss unhappily, "Boss, what's wrong with your employee? To actually rush to curry favor with that kind of person? It's just a small order of a few 100,000 yuan. Is there a need to go so far? Do you have to be so short-sighted? It's like you've never seen money before." Chapter 434. The other small stars next to them also looked like they couldn't stand it. "Boss, why don't you discipline your employees? He's so unprofessional." "No wonder. I think he's not young. He must have been working here for many years, but he's still a small shop assistant. It must be because he doesn't know how to do things. Why should such a person stay in the store?" Listening to the conversation between Liang Bichin and the starlets, the owner's fat face turned the color of a pig's liver. He could only force a smile and say to them, "Hey beauties, don't worry about them. Anyway, they can't affect us anymore. You can pick some more and see what happens. Don't let your mood be affected." On the other side, Ningxi noticed that the shop assistant's tone and attitude were quite reliable, so she gave up the idea of going to another shop and replied, "It's my grandfather's 70th birthday soon. I want to choose a jade Buddha bracelet for him." The middle-aged man immediately picked out a bracelet from a pile of jade ornaments. Miss, what do you think of this? This jade Buddha bracelet is made of 29 emerald green glass beads. All the beads are taken from a piece of stone, and the color is uniform and complete. Ningxi took the bracelet that the middle-aged man picked out for her, and her eyes lit up. I don't really understand what you're talking about. I just feel that this bracelet is very good. I've seen a lot of them, but none of them makes me want to buy them. The middle-aged man chuckled. That means this jade Buddha bracelet is destined to be yours, which is very rare. Of course, you can rest assured that the quality of this bracelet is absolutely guaranteed. Ningxi stroked the bracelet and said thoughtfully, I like this bracelet very much, but how much is it? My price is within 150,000 yuan. If it's too high, I'd better look for something else. The middle-aged man immediately said, What a coincidence. This bracelet is exactly 150,000 yuan. Exactly 150,000 yuan? Ningxi was delighted. The middle-aged man nodded. And because the store is holding a promotion recently, we can give you a 20% discount. Ningxi was even happier when she heard that. She had been worried that the rest of the money would be used to buy jade, and she would have no money to eat. After the 20% discount, she would have some money left, and the problem of eating would be solved. At this thought, Ningxi nodded and said, Then give me this one. When the middle-aged man heard this, the nervousness between his brows finally disappeared completely. All right, I'll pack it up for you now. Okay, thank you. Miss, you are too polite. It is my honor to serve you. As the middle-aged man said, he took Ningxi's card, wrote a bill for her, packed it up, handed it to her with both hands and bowed. You're welcome to come again. The boss of the precious jade pavilion didn't dare to say a word from beginning to end. He just stared at the jade Buddha bracelet that Ningxi had bought for less than 150,000 with an incredulous expression. After Ningxi left, Su Yimo and the others continued to look at the jade. Seeing that Ningxi had left, Liang Biqin was still unhappy, so she vented her anger on the middle-aged shop assistant. Hey you! I'm talking to you. What's wrong with you? The boss said that these jade ornaments that bring down precious jade pavilion's quality have been taken off the shelves. Who gave you permission to do this? Chapter 435. The boss of Treasure Jade Pavilion heard Liang Biqin's words and trembled in fear. She wanted to stop her, but it was too late. The middle-aged man's gaze swept over Liang Biqin, as if he was looking at an insignificant object. Then, his gaze landed on the owner of the precious jade loft. Unlike the respectful and careful attitude he displayed in front of Ningxi, his expression immediately became fierce and his entire aura changed. He looked at the owner and asked, These jade ornaments have all been removed from the shelves. Why didn't I know about it? The boss couldn't take it anymore and ran to the middle-aged man in panic. Manager it's not what you think. I didn't mean it that way. As soon as the boss finished speaking, Su Yimo, Liang Biqin and the others' expressions all changed. Liang Biqin, who had just been scolding the middle-aged man, was shocked. Manager, you? Su Yimo's expression also changed. You? Could this person be? A few starlets whispered to each other in hushed voices. No way, this shop assistant. No, this person is a manager? Which manager? I don't know. Could it be the general manager of Treasure Jade Pavilion, Yuan Yan? Impossible. Hearing the name Yuan Yan, Liang Biqin's face turned livid. That's impossible. At this moment, the boss was racking his brains to explain. Manager I didn't mean to take these jade ornaments off the shelves. I just didn't have enough people today, so I had to do this. You didn't have enough people? The middle-aged man glanced at the trembling shop assistants. Seeing that he couldn't explain himself, the boss swallowed and moved closer to the middle-aged man. He lowered his voice and reminded him, Manager this Miss Su is a very important guest. We have to treat her with utmost care. Then he gave the middle-aged man a, you know what I mean look. Liang Biqin and the others all revealed arrogant expressions when they heard the boss words. So what if he's really the general manager? Even the general manager has to respect my cousin. Su Yimo glanced at Liang Biqin. Don't talk nonsense. Although she said that, she didn't show any displeasure on her face. Thinking of this, Liang Biqin suddenly had no scruples. She shouted in the direction of the middle-aged man. Hey, you're the general manager called Yuan Nian, right? Although it's your duty, it's enough. The boss just wants to entertain us and my cousin. You must know my cousin, right? Yeah, it's not a big deal. When the boss heard Liang Biqin and the others' words, he immediately felt a glimmer of hope. He looked at Su Yimo for help. Seeing her boss's pleading expression, Su Yimo took a sip of tea and said casually, Boss, you're being kind. Let's forget about this. Just don't do it again. My cousin already said it. Did you hear it? The middle-aged man's gaze did not change at all when he looked at Su Yimo and the others. Instead, he looked at the bag with the jade bracelets in Liang Biqin's hand and asked, Miss, have you paid for the jade ornaments in your hand? Liang Biqin blurted out without a second thought. Pay what? This is a gift from the boss to our cousin. When the middle-aged man heard this, his expression became even more gloomy. His tone was extremely stern. You ignored the rules and regulations and removed the goods from the store without permission. You ignored Baoyu Pavilion's principles and had the security guards expel the guests. You ignored professional ethics and gave away 2 million yuan worth of jade bracelets. Feng Maokai, how dare you? Who gave you the right to do this? Baoyu Pavilion's 100 years of reputation was almost destroyed in your hands. Chapter 436. As soon as Feng Maokai heard Yuan Yin's tone, he knew he was done for. His legs went soft, and he almost knelt on the ground. Yuan Yin didn't even give face to Su Yimo. Now that he had no one to rely on, he could only admit his mistake. Manager Yu, I was confused. I was blinded by lard. This is my first time, really my first time. Please forgive me. Yuan Yin looked at him coldly. I will investigate whether this is your first time or not. This time, you will be punished for several crimes. Don't beg me, I can't protect you. Go to the finance department to settle your salary and leave. If the results of the investigation prove that something similar happened, Treasure Jade Pavilion will deal with you according to the law for any losses you caused to the store. Hearing this, Feng Maotsai's eyes widened and his face turned ashen. This time he was really done for. If the previous incidents were also found out, after saying this, Yuan Yin turned to the employees who were hiding in the corner and didn't dare to make a sound. You are considered old employees of the store, but your performance this time is too disappointing. After working for so many years, don't you even know the most basic etiquette? How could you neglect a customer like this? From now on, you don't have to come anymore. Manager Yu, we know we were wrong. Give us another chance. The boss told us to do this. Liang Biqin and the others were waiting for the manager to admit defeat, but they never expected such an outcome. Listening to the employees' pleas, they couldn't help but stiffen with pale faces, especially Su Yimo. Although Yuan Yin's words were scolding the boss, every sentence was like a slap to her face. After dealing with the boss, Yuan Yin calmed down a little and walked to Su Yimo and the others. He didn't call her Miss Su, as if he didn't know her at all. He said politely, Miss, I was dealing with some business just now. Sorry for the embarrassment. This time, it was our staff's mistake. So I'm sorry. I'm afraid you can't take your jade bracelet with you. What? You want to take back what you gave away? Liang Biqin screamed and added unwillingly. Do you know who my cousin is? Regardless of identity or status, anyone who comes to our treasured jade pavilion is a guest. Yuan Yin looked indifferent. Of course, if you can't bear to part with it, you can pay the original price. As an apology, I can give you a 5% discount. Liang Biqin's face was filled with disbelief. 5% off? He had just given that bitch Ningxi a 20% discount, but he gave her cousin a 5% discount. What did he mean? At that moment, Su Yimo's expression was extremely ugly. Regardless of whether she wanted this jade bracelet or not, she had already lost her face. Finally, she forced herself to take a deep breath, took out her bank card, handed it over and said coldly, You don't have to give me a discount. Miss, you're too polite. This is a must. Yu Wanyan handed his bank card to the young man behind him, and finally gave Su Yimo a 5% discount. In the end, Su Yimo left with an ashen face without even accepting the gifts. Liang Biqin picked up the jade bracelet and followed him in a panic. Cousin, don't be angry. That Yu Wanyan really doesn't know what's good for him. Just pretend that you were bitten by a dog. We'll have plenty of opportunities to teach him a lesson later. He'll definitely regret it then. That's right, Yimo. Yu Wanyan doesn't look like a flexible and straightforward person. You'll just make yourself angry by arguing with him. We're really unlucky this time. We just happened to run into Yu Wanyan's surprise inspection. Chapter 437. After buying the gifts, Ningxi went back to her apartment. She came out of the elevator and was walking towards the door while fishing for her keys. She looked up and saw a burly man nearly 2 meters tall standing in front of her like a door god. Ningxi was stunned. She looked at the door plate. Was she going the wrong way? Who are you? This is my house. You're blocking my way. Miss Ning, my name is Xiongji. My boss asked me to protect you. The burly man answered. And obediently moved 2 steps to the side to make room for her. Then he continued to stand there like a door god. Ningxi was surprised to hear this. Boss. Who's your boss? Xiongji answered seriously. Miss, my boss's surname is Lu. The corner of Ningxi's mouth twitched. Surname Lu. Is it Lu Tingxiao? Xiongji nodded. Yes. Ningxi was speechless. It's really him. Damn it. Why would he ask you to protect me out of the blue? Xiongji answered expressionlessly. My boss asked me to be responsible for your safety on the set. Safety on the set? Ningxi suddenly remembered talking to Lu Tingxiao about the script last night. At first, Lu Tingxiao didn't agree to let her film because there were too many dangerous scenes. Was it because of this? Ningxi took a deep breath and said, Brother, even if it's your boss's order, he asked you to be responsible for my safety on the set. It's still early for me to start filming. Isn't it too early for you to come? When will you start filming? Xiongji asked. I'm not sure, but definitely not in the near future. Ningxi answered. Xiongji thought hard and looked up. He said, Since you're not sure, anything is possible. You may start filming tomorrow or now. I have to obey my boss's order. Ningxi almost knelt down in front of his logic. She held her forehead and said, But you're affecting my life by standing at my door like this, okay? I don't know what's going on if someone sees you. Xiongji thought for a moment and nodded. Okay, I got it. Then he turned and left. What? This guy was so dumb. She didn't expect him to be so easy to persuade. Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief and went straight into the room. After entering the house, she sent a text message to Lu Tingxiao, telling him that he didn't have to go through the trouble of sending someone to protect him. After the message was sent, the other side remained silent. There was no reply. In the past, whenever she sent a text to Lu Tingxiao, he would always reply within seconds. This was the first time he didn't reply after such a long time. He was probably busy on a business trip. Ningxi didn't care too much. She took out the jade Buddha bracelet and looked at it carefully. She didn't know if it was because this bracelet was bought with her first endorsement fee, but the more she looked at it, the more satisfied she became. After looking at it for a long time, she carefully put it away. He browsed the entertainment news for a while and read the script for a while. Soon it was nighttime. There was no sound from the phone. Lu Tingxiao still hadn't replied her. Ningxi frowned slightly. It was time to finish work and have dinner. Didn't he see it? Or did he see it but didn't reply? Holy shit. You must be crazy. It's just that he didn't reply for a long time, right? She was so worried about personal gains and losses. She was simply a young lady in love. Ningxi felt a chill run down her spine. She quickly threw away her phone and went to eat, not letting her imagination run wild anymore. Chapter 438. The next morning, Ningxi had no work to do today. She went out for a morning jog and then went to buy breakfast. As she was walking, her expression suddenly changed. Someone seemed to be following her. Ningxi was not in a hurry. She continued to walk forward leisurely. She just kept going through the winding alleys until she was sure that she had lost the other party. She quickly found a place to hide. Soon, a tall figure appeared at the entrance of the alley. Ningxi seized the opportunity and rushed over. She quickly appeared behind the man and locked his shoulders. "Who are you?" The man turned around. Ningxi was stunned. "Why are you here again? Wasn't this Xiongji from last night?" She had thought he had left. It turned out he was using a different method to protect her. Ningxi let out a long sigh. "Didn't I tell you? In the near future, at least in a month or two, I won't even turn on my phone. Don't worry, miss, I'm just carrying out the boss's orders." Xiongji was unwavering. Ningxi held her forehead helplessly. How could Lu Tingxiao have such an honest man? Ningxi was worried about how to persuade him. Xiongji suddenly took out his phone and looked at it. She didn't know what he saw. His expression changed slightly. "What does the boss want me to do there?" "Boss? What boss? Are you talking about Lu Tingxiao?" Ningxi had been waiting for Lu Tingxiao's reply since last night. She had been feeling a little uneasy. Now that there was a message about Lu Tingxiao, she couldn't help but sneak a peek. There was a text message on the phone. "Boss has ordered everyone to gather here, no matter where you are. Country X, Philadelphia, Arsenal, coordinates XXX. The sender was Brother Hao, probably one of Lu Tingxiao's men." Ningxi's expression suddenly changed when she saw the text message. Country X, Philadelphia. Fuck. Lu Tingxiao went to Philadelphia in Country X. Wasn't Philadelphia one of the main bases of that bastard YS? And the text message mentioned the arsenal. Why would Lu Tingxiao gather all his men to go to the armory for no reason? Did this really have something to do with that guy? If that was the case, then there would be a huge problem. Xiongji put away his cell phone and hurriedly said to Ningxi, "Miss, I'm going to Feiqing right now. Please wait for me to come back before joining the crew." The more Ningxi thought about it, the more uneasy she became. She said irritably, "What do you mean by entering? I said I won't be filming during this period." What was going on with Lu Tingxiao? Wasn't he on a business trip to Country X? Why is it suddenly related to the armory? Seeing that Ningxi knew the content of the text message, Xiongji frowned and said with a straight face, "Miss, I can't tell you these. I don't have time to talk to you now. Please forgive me." After saying that, Xiongji ran away like the wind. This guy looked as clumsy as a bear, but he ran quite fast. At this moment, Ningxi was burning with anxiety. Damn it, what happened to Lu Tingxiao? Whatever. Rather than being scared here, it was better to follow and take a look. It would be best if nothing happened. At most, she would sneak back again. If something really happened, in the end, Ningxi looked in the direction Xiongji left in and made a decision. She quickly went upstairs to find her passport and rushed to the airport without delay. When she arrived at the airport, Ningxi checked Xiongji's flight information. Sure enough, she saw that he was on the first flight to Philadelphia. So she decisively bought a ticket and quietly followed him. As soon as she got off the plane, a gust of cold air hit her. The weather in Feiqing was not good today. It was drizzling and the air was filled with an aura that made her feel uneasy. After landing, Ningxi hit her tracks. Since Xiongji was probably in a hurry, she didn't notice him along the way. Chapter 439. Country X, Philadelphia. Xiongji pulled out a pitch-black semi-automatic .22 pistol from his waist. This pistol was extremely small, but its penetrative power was terrifying. It was this .22 pistol that had saved Xiongji from many dangerous situations. Xiongji's heart inexplicably had a trace of an ominous premonition when he arrived here. All these years he had experienced too many dangerous missions, so he had an instinctive sense of danger that was almost like that of a wild beast. Behind him, Ningxi hid in an inconspicuous corner. She frowned and felt that something was amiss. Under Ningxi's gaze, Xiongji took a deep breath. Then he turned around and entered the pitch-black abandoned warehouse. That's weird. Why did the boss ask us to meet here? Damn it. Not long after Xiongji entered the abandoned warehouse, a sedan drove over at a high speed. After the sedan pulled over, the door of the front passenger seat opened. Shi Shao, one of Lu Tingxiao's henchmen, walked out first. Soon, the other two hooligan-looking men left the car and followed behind Xiao. "Boss, why did the boss ask you to meet here? This place looks like an abandoned arsenal." I remember this warehouse. It should be the territory of the Italian mafia in Philadelphia. Is there any connection between the boss and the Italian mafia? The two men said to Xiao with doubtful looks on their faces. The Italian mafia? Xiao was puzzled. The two men in front of him had some influence in Philadelphia. Otherwise, Xiao wouldn't have recruited them to work for him. They should be familiar with the distribution of power in Philadelphia. It's the Italian mafia. However, this arsenal has long been abandoned. It should be nothing. One of the men nodded. "Boss, we'll probably meet at the abandoned arsenal of the Italian mafia," Xiao murmured. His face tightened. Then he looked at the two men and said, "Be careful. Watch my eyes." Instinctively, Xiao felt a little uneasy. Soon after, Xiao led the two men into the warehouse. In a certain corner, Ningxi didn't stay idle either. She followed behind Xiao and the other two and sneaked in as well. The warehouse was really dark and damp. There was a bit of mold in the air, and there was an unpleasant smell of beer. It was hard for the light from the outside to shine in. Be it Ningxi, Xiao, or the others, it was hard for them to see the situation in the warehouse. "Be careful." Xiao lowered his voice as much as possible, and said to the two men who were following closely behind him. Then there was the sound of a gun being loaded. Inexplicably, the two men behind Xiao also instantly became nervous. Could it be that Big Boss didn't want to meet Xiao here? "Where's your phone? Let's see what the situation is," Xiao said. Yes. One of the men immediately took out his phone and turned on the flashlight mode. When the phone's colorful light illuminated the dark area, Xiao's expression changed. More than 10 meters away, Xiongji was lying on the ground with a bloody nose and swollen face. "Xiongji." Xiao didn't have time to think about anything else. He immediately ran towards Xiongji and helped him up from the ground. "There's a traitor, a traitor!" Xiongji shouted angrily after seeing Xiao clearly. "A traitor?" Xiao's heart turned cold, and he tightened his grip on the gun in his hand. Chapter 440. Before this, he had already felt that it was a little strange. Why would the boss ask him to meet in such a godforsaken place? "Xiao, go. Hurry, there's an ambush. Boss isn't here, he's not here." Xiongji let out a beast-like roar. The veins on his forehead were bulging and his eyes were bloodshot. Before Xiao could say anything, the huge lights in the abandoned warehouse were turned on. In an instant, it was as if the darkness had turned into a dazzling morning sun. Boom! The strong light made Xiao and Xiongji subconsciously close their eyes. Then, they heard the sound of the warehouse's door being slammed. When Xiao had completely adapted to the strong light, he turned around and saw that the warehouse's metal door was already closed and locked. "Ha, you idiots!" In the depths of the warehouse, at the same time that chaotic footsteps sounded, Xiao and the others could also hear someone laughing and scolding in broken Chinese. At most a few breaths of time, foreign brawny men in tight t-shirts walked out. Behind them was a foreign woman in black with messy long hair. One of the bald brawny men had exaggerated tattoos on his arms, neck, and even his head. He looked at Xiao and Xiongji as if he was looking at corpses. There was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. At this time, Xiao finally understood. Boss Lu Tingxiao wasn't here at all. Or rather, he had never asked them out. It was Hong Jinhao, that son of a bitch, who had sold them out and tricked Xiao and Xiongji here. "Hong Jinhao, you motherfucker. I'll fuck your grandma." Xiao's face was red as he scolded. Xiao and Xiongji didn't have any suspicions about Hong Jinhao. Previously, when Hong Jinhao had sent them a message telling them that Lu Tingxiao was waiting here, they didn't have any suspicions. Who would have thought that in the end, they would fall into a trap? Hong Jinhao was a traitor. "Ha, you idiot pigs." The bald brawny man with tattoos laughed loudly. On the side, the foreign woman's eyes were sharp. She didn't say a word and only played with the cold black gun in her hand. "You. Who are you? Do you know Lu Tingxiao?" "We are Lu Tingxiao's men." How dare you mess with us? One of the men that Xiao had brought along said while sweating profusely. Xiao glanced at the man. At a time like this, what else was there to say? No matter who these foreigners were, the purpose of tricking them to this abandoned warehouse was obvious. Obviously, they wanted to kill them. Today, I'm going to make you all die here. I'm going to roast you pigs. The bald man's eyes were sinister and vicious. Hearing this, the man suddenly shouted angrily. He quickly pulled out the pistol at his waist and pointed it at the bald man. I'll drag you down even if I die. Annie, get rid of that pig. The bald brute said coldly. As soon as she said that, the foreign woman quickly raised her hand, and with a loud bang, the bullet accurately knocked the gun out of the man's hand. Uh-oh. The man's right palm felt numb. The huge impact made the gun fly out of his hand. He staggered a few steps back, and almost fell to the ground. Seeing this, Xiao and Xiongji's faces turned even uglier. The foreign woman's marksmanship was too accurate. Moreover, it was very fast. She didn't give the others the slightest chance. Oh, Annie, my baby, why didn't you shoot that pig just now? The bald brute looked at the foreign woman in confusion. I won't use a gun to kill him. I'll use my hand. The foreign woman's face was cold. She wore a tight black suit and walked briskly toward the man. Chapter 441. The foreign woman's steps were steady, and her movements were swift. Her tight-fitting clothes made her look extremely free and easy. You bitch, if you don't use a gun I'll kill you. One of the men Xiao had brought along was sweating profusely. However, even a cornered dog would jump over a wall, let alone a man who had been in the underworld for a long time. The foreign woman hooked her middle finger at him, but did not say anything. At that moment, the man's face was filled with madness. These foreigners were obviously trying to kill them on purpose. Since he could not live, he did not think about anything else. At the very least, he had to kill this foreign woman in front of him. Thinking of this, the man roared and immediately ran towards the foreign woman. He raised his fist and was about to smash the foreign woman's head. However, before the man could get close, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of him. The sound of wind was still in his ears. Before he could even see what had happened, he felt a sharp pain in his chin. His whole body was like a kite with a broken string, flying out horizontally. With a loud bang, he hit the iron pillar in the distance. What? Chow and I? Hold. At that moment, the man wanted to get up from the ground. However, after trying a few times, he did not succeed. His face was covered in blood, and his teeth were broken, including 2 front teeth. When the man spoke, it was impossible to hear what he was saying. The foreign woman's face was expressionless. She slowly put down her raised leg. The man did not see it clearly, but Xiongji, Xiao, and the others saw it clearly. Before the man could get close, the foreign woman quickly and fiercely kicked the man's chin. This kick was extremely powerful. It was definitely a high-intensity professional training. Just now it should be a taekwondo front kick. But a woman's strength and accuracy have been trained to such an extent. It's really rare. Xiao murmured. His eyes flashed coldly. These years, all Xiao had learned were killing techniques. The woman's skills were indeed extraordinary. If it was him, he was still confident that he could take down the woman. However, there were several guns pointed at him and Xiongji. If he acted rashly, the consequences would be unimaginable. To kill you, I don't need a gun. I need my hands. The foreign woman's face was cold. She directly walked behind the man, and did not give him a chance to speak. She strangled him to death. Seeing this, the other man brought by Xiao turned pale. He did not dare to say a single word, afraid that he would attract the attention of the foreign woman. Ha ha ha, a pig will always be a pig. Annie's taekwondo has already reached the red rank. Idiot. Stupid pig. The bald man laughed. Philo, it's a red and black belt, not a red belt. The foreign woman glanced at the bald man. Oh. My dear Annie, it's a red and black belt. It's even more powerful than a red belt. It's almost a black belt. You're right. The bald brute smiled apologetically. What exactly do you people want? Xiongji couldn't take it any longer, and almost roared. Ha 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 ha, don't be anxious. I want to play a very interesting game with you stupid pigs. The bald, brawny man gave the two people in front of him a look. Then the two foreigners carried a heavy box from the back and threw it at Xiongji and Shijiao's feet. What do you mean? Shijiao frowned. It's very simple. There are some guns here that are very hard to identify. If you identify one wrong, I'll kill one of you. It's very fair, said the bald man after thinking for a moment. Chapter 442. Hearing this, Shijiao and Xiongji completely understood that these foreigners treated them as a form of entertainment, like a game between a cat and a mouse. What if we recognize it? Shijiao asked again. Recognize it? The bald man was taken aback. It was obvious that he had not considered this question. Oh, if you recognize it, then I'll let you live a little longer. Then, you can continue to recognize it. I think there will always be guns that you can't recognize. Ha ha ha. The bald man was proud. At that moment, Shijiao and Xiongji suppressed the anger in their hearts. If they did not cooperate, they might die immediately. No matter what, they had to buy time. However, when Xiongji and Shijiao opened the box, they were completely dumbfounded. They could not name the firearms in the box, or rather, they had never seen them before. Shijiao was at a loss. What, you can't recognize it? Ha ha ha, if that's the case, we have to abide by the rules of the game. We can only kill one of them first. The bald man raised his arm, and the black muzzle in his hand landed on Xiongji. Then he moved it away and aimed it at Shijiao. This repeated over and over again. However, at that moment, an extremely abrupt voice rang out in the armory. Let me. Ningxi walked up to the side of the box. Seeing Ningxi, the foreigners were stunned. They did not even notice Ningxi's existence earlier. No one knew how she suddenly appeared here. Not only the foreigners, but even Xiongji and Shijiao were dumbfounded. This woman, when did she come in? You? After Shijiao regained his senses, he looked at Ningxi from head to toe. He could no longer suppress his anger and shouted, "Who allowed you to come?" However, no matter how loud Shijiao's voice was, Ningxi ignored him. Her eyes were focused on the guns. Xiongji, what's wrong with this woman? Why did you bring this kind of actress here at this time? Is there something wrong with your brain? Shijiao was practically shouting. Xiongji was also confused. He did not know that Ningxi was here. Does she think this is an act? Damn it. Tell me, does she think this is an act? Shijiao's face was gloomy. I don't know. She followed us secretly. Xiongji could only explain. Bastard. Shijiao cursed out loud. Then he looked at Ningxi fiercely. You're just an actress. What do you know? Get lost. Do you want to die? Suddenly, Ningxi turned around, her ice-cold eyes falling on Shijiao. Ha 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 ha. Internal strife? Interesting, I like it. Let's continue. The bald brute's face was filled with excitement. How pitiful. It's fear that made them lose their rationality, the foreign woman said coldly. She doesn't count, I do. At this point, Shijiao could only brace himself. How could he leave their lives in the hands of this brainless actress? She might really think that they were acting. The bald man immediately shook his head. No. Since she wants to admit it, then she has to admit it. Changing people means giving up. I still want to kill one person. Shijiao's face was ashen when he heard this, and his gaze became even more ferocious as he looked at Ningxi. He wished for nothing more than to slice this idiot into 1,000 pieces in order to vent the hatred in his heart. He could not understand at all. Lu Tingxiao was so wise that he was willing to sacrifice his life to follow his boss. Why would he value such a brainless actress? Hearing this, Ningxi didn't even look at Shijiao. She casually took out an incomparably exquisite pistol from the box. Austrian Glock 17 pistol, used by the Austrian military. Its length is 185 millimeters, and its weight is about 0.6 kilograms. If I remember correctly, the barrel length should be 114 millimeters. The magazine holds 17 rounds, and its range is 72 meters. Chapter 443. Not only Shijiao, But even Xiongji and the man Xiao brought with her were all pale. To put it nicely, she was an actress, but to put it bluntly, she was just a third-rate actress. How could she understand these things? What a joke! Where did the stench come from? You want to kill us? You're an actress, right? Why didn't you accompany the director and producer to deal with the unspoken rules? Instead, you came here to spout nonsense. Do you think this is acting? The man Xiao brought was furious. He wanted to kill Ningxi. However, Ningxi acted as if she did not hear him. She played with the pistol and said to herself, "How dare you take out this kind of pistol? Most of the FBI in America uses it." After that, Ningxi threw the Austrian Glock 17 pistol aside without any interest. They did not know much about this kind of small pistol. If it was a more lethal and penetrating weapon, Xiao, Xiongji, and the rest would be familiar with it. Although Ningxi spoke methodically, Xiao did not believe her at all. In his eyes, Ningxi was only an entertainer who did not know much about the military fire. So how could she know anything about it? How is it? Am I right? Just as Xiao, Xiongji, and the rest were feeling uneasy, Ningxi looked at the bald man in the distance. At that moment, the bald man's mouth twitched. The woman's words were accurate. She even detailed the characteristics, advantages, and disadvantages of the Austrian Glock 17 pistol. It seemed that she had come into contact with similar guns before. Ha 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 ha. At least there's a smart woman. All right, continue. Our game has just begun. The bald man laughed loudly. Hearing the bald man's words, Xiongji, Xiao, and the rest were slightly stunned. They did not understand the situation. From what the foreign mafia said, the actress was right. Damn. That was close. The man that Xiao had brought along was sweating profusely. Then he seemed to have thought of something and came to a sudden realization. Oh right, since she's an actress, she might have acted in a shooting scene before. It must be because of the need of the plot that she came into contact with that Austrian pistol before. Xiao and Xiongji were deep in thought. The man's words did make sense. After all, Ningxi was an actress, and it was inevitable that she would come into contact with some shooting scenes. Perhaps it was because she had come into contact with the Austrian Glock 17 model, and because the plot required her to have some knowledge of this type of gun, that she was able to say it accurately. That was close. Xiongji took a deep breath. If Ningxi had said one wrong word, the consequences would have been unimaginable. We request a substitution. Xiao suddenly said. Ningxi must have been lucky to recognize the Austrian Glock this time. If they continued to play, they might all die here. Yes, yes, yes. Substitute. We must substitute. The man Xiao brought along also chimed in. It was better for them to be the one to identify the person than a third-rate actor. Even if the person identified the person wrongly, it was up to them to decide their own fate. There was no need to put their head in the hands of an actor. No, no, no. If you substitute, you'll forfeit. Are you sure? If so, I'm going to start killing the pig. The corners of the bald man's mouth curled upwards, revealing a trace of mockery. His face was filled with a playful expression. This was a game between a cat and a mouse. When he was tired of it, everyone would still die under the black muzzle of his gun. Chapter 444. In this game, he was the leader. Everything was up to him. The man Xiao had brought with him glared at Ningxi and said fiercely, "If we can leave this place alive, I will definitely skin you alive after we get out of here." Ha ha ha, I love watching you stupid pigs fight amongst yourselves. However, whether or not we can leave this place alive is not up to you stupid pigs. Alright, if you don't want to die, then continue to admit your mistakes. The bald man sneered. Xiao and Xiongji clenched their fists tightly. However, there was nothing they could do given the current situation. They could only pray that reinforcements would arrive soon. If their boss Lu Tingxiao didn't know anything about this, then they would all die here. Ningxi's expression was calm. She didn't seem to be affected by Xiao and the bald man. Her gaze swept across the box and she picked up a gun. You guys also have such an ancient gun. It seems like you've put in a lot of effort for this game, Ningxi said calmly. The bald man didn't say anything. An inexplicable smile hung on his face as he stared at Ningxi with his golden eyes. You can recognize this gun, even if you don't believe me. The woman in front of the bald man, Alice, said coldly. Ningxi suddenly raised her head and her eyes fell on the foreign woman, Alice. I really don't recognize this gun. Hearing this, Shi Xiao and Xiongji felt a chill in their hearts even though they had already expected this outcome. You stinky bastard, I'll kill you. The man Shi Xiao had brought with him had completely lost his mind. He thought that he would be killed by the performer in front of him. Everything was because of this performer. Bang! Just as the man Shi Xiao had brought with him was about to pounce on Ningxi, the bald man's gun suddenly emitted a dazzling flash. Immediately after, a bullet pierced through the ground in front of the man. Gravel flew everywhere. The sound of the gunshot was like a sudden clap of thunder, shocking everyone. It's not up to you to decide whether you live or die. Whoever I want to die will die first. Are you trying to break the rules of my game? Stupid pig. The bald man smiled evilly as he stared at the man Shi Xiao had brought with him. At that moment, the man finally regained his senses amidst the gunshots. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. He immediately shook his head and retreated, not daring to say another word. Ha ha ha, I love obedient stupid pigs the most. Seeing the man's expression, the bald strong man nodded with satisfaction, and then looked at Ningxi. Since you can't recognize it, then we can only play according to the rules of the game, ha 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 ha. However, Ningxi shook her head. There's no need to rush to a conclusion. The bald man was puzzled. Although I've never seen this type of gun before, it's not hard to guess based on the caliber and feel of this gun, as well as its unique appearance. Ningxi didn't mind. Guess. At this moment, not only Shi Xiao and Xiongji, even the foreigners were stunned. This woman actually guessed it. Was she really not afraid of death? Ningxi looked at the pocket-sized gun in her hand. She weighed it in her hand and said unhurriedly, about 1 kilogram, the length should be about 180 millimeters, and the carbon steel impact sleeve has been specially modified using a special metal material. The caliber is around 0.46 inches, about 12 millimeters. The special caliber can only use 0.45-inch Smith & Wesson bullets. Chapter 445. This type of pistol can only hold 12 bullets in the magazine. It belongs to the early first generation. Although I have not touched it before, it is very easy to guess it is an antique. I am sure that this is the P229 that SIG bought in Germany in 1991. Its full name is the German P229 pistol, Ningxi said casually. After saying that, she threw the gun in her hands to the side. Shi Xiao, Xiongji, and the rest had lost all hope. They could only resign themselves to fate. They prayed that Ningxi had come into contact with similar guns when she was acting. She would be as lucky as before. Naturally, they were already prepared for a life-and-death struggle in their hearts. If worse comes to worst, they would fight with those foreigners and kill as many as they could. Anyway, they had no way to survive. How is it? Am I right or wrong? Ningxi looked at the silent bald man expressionlessly. After a long while, the bald man said coldly, I heard from them that you're an actor. That's right. Ningxi did not deny it. Regardless of what happened in the past, she was an actor now. She was a down-to-earth actor. She relied on her own talent and hard work to achieve her goals. No wonder. You're an actor. You must have acted in many gun battles. That's why you recognize these guns. Come to think of it, it's not surprising. The bald man was reasonable. Actors are really useless. You can only rely on selling your body to make those disgusting deals. Killing a disgusting pig like you with my bare hands is the most satisfying way to do it. The foreign woman, Alice, glanced at Ningxi with her sharp eyes. Alice had an instinctive disgust for actors. Hee, my dear Alice, I seem to be tired of playing this game. Why don't we change to something else? Tell me, what's more interesting than recognizing guns? The bald, brawny man looked at Alice and gave her an extremely ambiguous look. Don't you like watching them fight among themselves? Let them kill each other. That's more interesting and fun, the foreign lady Alice said after some thought. You've reminded me of something. The bald man stood up with a smile on his face as he stared at the man Sir Shao had brought with him. Stupid pig. Didn't you want to kill that woman just now? Now that the opportunity has come, go strangle her to death, and I'll consider giving you a chance to live. How about it? Such a precious opportunity doesn't come often. Hearing the bald, robust man's words, the expression of the white-clothed man that Sir Shao brought over immediately shook, and he said in shock, What you said is the truth. If it's true. Before the white-clothed man could finish, the bald man laughed and said, Of course. Buddy, you should know that I'm a person who pays attention to the rules of the game. As long as you follow my rules, you'll have a chance to live. All right. It's a deal. The white-robed man's eyes flashed with a hint of viciousness. As long as he could live, anything was negotiable. She was just an entertainer. Killing her was no different from crushing a grasshopper to death. Don't you dare. Xiongji roared like an enraged beast. No matter what, Lu Tingxiao had ordered him to protect the actress. Stupid pig, don't act rashly. Watch the show obediently, or else I'll blow your head off. A foreign man pointed a gun at Xiongji. Xiongji had a feeling that if he dared to move, the bullet would pierce through his forehead in the next second. Chapter 446. Xiongji clenched his fists and his veins popped. Boss Lu Tingxiao's orders. If he couldn't complete them, even if he survived, how could he face Boss Lu Tingxiao in the future? Be good and don't act rashly. It's not your turn to die yet. However, if you don't listen and don't cooperate, then it'll be hard to say. You idiots, we have a lot of time. The game has just begun. Ha ha ha. The bald, brawny man looked as if he had the upper hand over them. Sir Shao, that's the person you brought. Boss said to protect Miss Ning's safety. Even if you don't do anything, you can't allow your subordinates to act recklessly. Xiongji ignored the bald, brawny man and shouted at Sir Shao. Sir Shao frowned. Although he didn't like that stupid woman, he didn't want her dead. Don't attack. Sir Shao looked at the man in white and shouted. Damn it. The man in white had a fierce look in his eyes and spat on the ground. Don't bother me. Boss Sir Shao, it was you who brought us to this armory and said that boss was here. Take a look yourself and see what's here. It's an ambush. I'm going to lose my life soon. She's just a bullshit actress. Her death can be exchanged for my life. That's her honor. At this moment, forget about letting the man in white kill Ningxi. As long as he could live, he would kill Xiongji or even Sir Shao without hesitation. There's no need to rush. You have your rules and I have mine. Ningxi's lips curled into a mysterious smile, and she took out a pistol from the box. Idiot, you're asking for it. The rules have changed. You're not allowed to touch any guns now. Put them down immediately. The foreign woman, Alice, stood up immediately. Dear Alice, those guns have no bullets and the magazines are empty. Don't worry. The bald, brawny man laughed. Everything was under his control. Since the bald man didn't care, Alice shrugged her shoulders and sat back down. Did you know? This is the Italian Boletta 92F pistol used by the U.S. military. Ningxi opened the empty magazine and said softly, That's right, it is indeed Italy's Boletta. But so what? The game is over. So, whether you recognize it or not, the result will be the same. You will be killed by your own people. Ha ha ha, just thinking about it makes me extremely excited. I want to see you stupid pigs kill each other. How beautiful that would be. The bald man's expression was close to that of a lunatic. Ningxi shook her head. The biggest feature of this pistol is that most of the bullets from small pistols. Before Ningxi finished speaking, the man in white rushed towards her like a gust of wind. Stinky, go to hell. The white-robed man roared madly. They can all be used. Ningxi murmured to herself. At the same time, she leaped into the air, and under everyone's shocked and incredulous gazes, her knee slammed into the white-robed man's abdomen. Wah! The white-robed man's face spasmed, and the corners of his mouth twitched. He opened his mouth and spat out a viscous liquid. After being hit by Ningxi's knee, he staggered backward. However, as the white-robed man retreated, his right shoulder was grabbed by Ningxi, whose face was as cold as an iceberg. Boom. The white-robed man didn't even know what happened before he was slammed onto the ground by Ningxi. At the same time, Ningxi had a few more bullets in her hand. With lightning speed, she loaded them into the magazine that she had been holding in her hand. Chapter 447. The man in the white shirt held his head and wailed. Ningxi's terrifying fighting skills were far beyond his expectations. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. Kill that actress? What a joke. She had such a beautiful face, but she had such terrifying skills. Why? At that moment, Ningxi had already loaded the Italian Boletta 92F pistol and loaded it with 7 bullets. Before this, Ningxi had already discovered that the gun magazines were all empty. Those foreigners naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to load the magazines with bullets. So when she recognized the first gun, Ningxi was already thinking of countermeasures. The first time she recognized the gun was to buy time. The second time she recognized the gun was to make the foreigners lower their guard. As for the third time, Ningxi had already thought of a countermeasure. The man in the white shirt's jacket pocket had a bulge, and the bulge was the shape of the bullet. Ningxi couldn't be wrong about all kinds of bullet shapes. Moreover, in a place like Philadelphia, it was a common habit for people to carry a few spare bullets with them after their pistols were fully loaded. Most of them were kept in their jacket pockets for emergencies. At first, Ningxi realized that those foreigners were too arrogant. They didn't disarm the man in the white shirt. It seemed like they thought that everything was under their control. Ningxi wanted to take advantage of the foreigner's arrogance and directly snatch the gun from the man in the white shirt. However, she gave up on that idea in the end. The gun carried by the man in white was a self-made gun. Ningxi didn't know anything about its range, penetrating power, or accuracy. She had never touched it before. If she rashly snatched the gun, she, Xiongji, and the others would definitely die if she made the slightest mistake when using it. However, in the box, there was one of Ningxi's favorite Italian Boletta 92F pistol. She could guarantee that if she used the 2F pistol, there was an 80% chance that she could resolve this crisis. Xiao and Xiongji were both stunned. Ningxi's moves were really amazing. Under that delicate appearance, who would have thought that there was such a terrifying explosive power hidden? At that moment, Ningxi had already loaded 7 bullets with the Italian Boletta 92F pistol. She was already aiming at the bald man. Stupid pig, stupid pig. Kill that bitch. The bald man was furious. He was actually being pointed at with a gun by an entertainer. Moreover, the gun was loaded with bullets. The biggest advantage of the Italian Boletta 92F pistol was that it was almost universal with more than 90% of the bullets produced in Philadelphia. There was almost no mismatch in caliber. As the bald man spoke, he quickly moved his gun towards Ningxi. He wanted to shoot Ningxi first. The bald man had strong confidence in his marksmanship. However, what he didn't expect was that before the gun could be aimed at Ningxi, the gun in Ningxi's hand had already fired. Bang! A muffled sound reverberated throughout the arena. At the same time as the gunshot rang out, a bloody hole had appeared between the bald, brawny man's eyebrows. Plop! The bald man fell to the ground. His body twitched for a moment before he breathed his last. Up until now, Ningxi didn't even glance at the bald, robust man at all. Her gaze only descended onto Xiao and the white-clothed man who held his head and howled in grief. What kind of spear technique is that? I don't even need to look at it to know. Xiongji was shocked and couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Chapter 448. Not only Xiongji, even Xiao's face was lifeless. His mind was blank. Everything was beyond his original expectations and calculations. That actress called Ningxi, was she really just an actress? Just now, what did you guys say? Ningxi was like an iceberg, so cold that it made people's hair stand on end. Smelly whore. Kill her. As Ningxi spoke, the other foreigners also completely came back to their senses and realized what had happened. Just as they raised their arms holding the guns, before Ningxi could shoot. Bang. 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 Another few muffled gunshots rang out. The few foreigners with guns widened their eyes. and blood flowed from between their eyebrows. Then, their bodies fell straight to the ground, and their guns were flung far away. Fast, too fast. Miss Ning. Her hand speed is too fast. Xiongji couldn't help but exclaim. He added, not only is it fast, but her accuracy has also reached an extremely frightening level. This distance just happens to be the limit of the German pistol in Miss Ning's hands. Extreme hand speed coupled with extreme calculation ability and extreme accuracy. She can't be just an actress. What does she do? How could an actress have this kind of ability? Even if you beat Xiongji to death, he would never believe it. At this moment, Xiongji suddenly smiled bitterly. He could only wonder what the boss was thinking. This kind of woman, did she need him to protect her? Did she need someone else's protection? It was still reasonable for her to protect others. Shi Zhao's mouth slightly opened, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end nothing came out. From the beginning to the end, Ningxi didn't even look at those foreigners. The gun in her hand seemed to be firing randomly, but the fact was those foreigners didn't even have the chance to shoot. In just a moment, Ningxi shot several times, each shot was fatal. In the blink of an eye, only that foreign woman Alice was left. The white shirt man was still holding his head and wailing, like a pig being slaughtered. You're an eyesore. Scram. Ningxi swung her leg and kicked the man in white several meters away. Shi Zhao and Xiongji didn't even dare to breathe loudly, especially Shi Zhao. Although he wasn't afraid of Ningxi's explosive power and extremely skilled combat techniques, she had a gun in her hands, that terrifying spear technique. You are very lucky. If it was a few years ago, you would have been a dead man if you dared to speak to me like this. Ningxi glanced at Shi Zhao. Do you understand what I mean? I understand. Shi Zhao gritted his teeth and nodded in the end. His instincts told him that he couldn't afford to offend this woman. Miss Ningxi, kill that woman. Seeing that Alice was still alive, Xiongji said hurriedly. Ningxi looked at Alice. What did you just say about me? That I only know how to sell my body and that you can kill me with your hands. Hearing that, Alice frowned and said coldly, in my eyes you're nothing, you stupid pig. With that, Alice quickly pulled out her gun. Bang. However, the muzzle of Ningxi's gun was the first to fire. Alice exclaimed. Ningxi's speed was too fast, much faster than her, and this bullet didn't hit her body. Instead, it hit the gun in her hand and sent it flying. Pa! Alice's gun was sent flying and smashed on the ground more than 10 meters away. Amazing! Kill her! Xiongji's face was full of excitement. No bullets. Ningxi also threw the empty gun aside. Just in time, we need to keep someone alive. Chapter 449. You're courting death. Alice glared at Ningxi. She ran as fast as the wind and threw a punch at Ningxi. Red and black level. Are you so arrogant now? Ningxi shook her head and looked indifferent. She didn't take Alice seriously at all. Be careful, that woman is very powerful. Xiongji couldn't help reminding her. As soon as he finished his words, Ningxi suddenly raised her right leg. It was extremely agile. She lifted it up a few centimeters, and then slammed it down violently, forming two curved lines. Crack! The foreign woman, Alice, had just approached Ningxi when Ningxi's lower leg fell. It was heavy and fast. This leg directly hit Alice's head. Almost at the same time, Alice's whole body seemed to lose all feeling, and she fell to the ground like mud. Fainted? Xiongji was stunned. Ningxi's leg was really amazing. I forgot to tell you. I'm a black belt. Ningxi glanced at Alice, who was in a coma, and said calmly. When they saw the scene before them, Shi Zhao and Xiongji looked at each other in dismay. Both of their faces were lifeless, and they were almost numb from the shock. Ningxi. Just then, they suddenly heard a familiar voice behind them. This voice, Lu Tingxiao. Boss. Ningxi ran over to the man and looked him up and down. After making sure he was unscathed, she breathed a sigh of relief. You're all right. That's great. You. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's face was extremely ugly. His whole body seemed to be burning in a raging fire. He was so angry that he almost lost control. Who allowed you to come here? It was the first time that Ningxi had seen Lu Tingxiao so angry and scary. She shrank her shoulders at once. Boss, you're so scary. Lu Tingxiao gnashed his teeth. You're scared? Ningxi looked at her fingers and put on a pitiful expression. She said weakly, how can I not be scared? After all, I'm also a girl. I was so scared just now that my calves and stomach were trembling. Boss, don't yell at me. I want to be comforted, I want to be touched. Behind them. Shishao. Xiongji. The corners of their mouths twitched, and their foreheads were full of black lines. Was this woman crazy? She was clearly arrogant to the point that she was about to ascend to the heavens. But where did she look the slightest bit afraid? As if the boss would believe her. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl's panic-stricken face. Even if the flames were burning his body, he could only forcefully endure it. He did not dare to implicate her in the slightest. With a stiff face, he took a deep breath and finally suppressed the anger in his heart. He stretched out his wide palm and patted the girl's head. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Ningxi let out a long sigh of relief and secretly patted her chest. She had finally dodged a bullet. The boss was really scary when he was angry. Then she continued to blink her eyes and said weakly, I'm not afraid anymore when I see Sir Boss. As long as you don't yell at me. Lu Tingxiao said apologetically. I'm sorry, I lost my composure for a moment. I won't do it again. Shishao, Xiongji. Our dog eyes are blind. Who was this person? This was their boss, Lu Tingxiao? Are you fucking kidding me? Could it be that this person wasn't their boss, but another trap set by the enemy? The only one who was calm was Chengfeng, who was following behind Lu Tingxiao. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose and had an expression that said, You're all too inexperienced, that's why you're so uncalm. Chapter 450. In the car leaving the armory. Knowing that Lu Tingxiao was fine, Ningxi finally relaxed and looked at the scenery outside the car window in a daze. Feiqing was still a bustling city the last time she came here. But now there was only the devastation caused by the war. While Ningxi was looking out of the window, Lu Tingxiao's unfathomable gaze fell on her. No matter how flawless his plan was, he would never have thought that when he arrived with his men and opened the warehouse, he would see Ningxi, who was far away in the country, appear here, in such a dangerous place. But before he could feel his heart shattering, he was shocked by another scene. The girl made her move in an instant. In an instant, everyone died under her gun. She also subdued the foreign woman with a swift and fierce strike. At that moment, the girl's cold eyes and aura were so strange. There was nothing familiar about her. She was like a stranger. He knew. That girl was still Ningxi. That was her in the past, however. When she flew towards him in surprise and pitifully said that she was afraid, he knew that she was still his girl. Ningxi inadvertently turned her head and met Lu Tingxiao's deep gaze. She couldn't help but gulp nervously. Mr. Boss. Why are you looking at me? Are you going to settle the score with me after this? You said you wouldn't be angry with me. Lu Tingxiao stopped thinking. I still have some things to deal with in Feiqing. Are you going back first or coming with me? Ningxi thought for a moment and immediately replied, I'll go back with you. Then she explained, Anyway, I don't have any work to do these days. Since I'm here, I'll just take it as a vacation. Lu Tingxiao looked at her coldly and said in a cold tone, If you come with me, you're not allowed to leave my sight these days. Ha! Ningxi pulled a long face. Then I'll be bored to death. Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. Ningxi hurriedly corrected herself. No. How can I be bored with boss? It's my great honor to be with you. In the back seat of the car, Xiongji coughed lightly and lowered his voice. Miss Ningxi, is she really not schizophrenic? Shishao rolled his eyes at him. Essence my ass. Haven't you seen it yet? She's clearly pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Tiger. Tiger means boss. Xiongji was still confused. Then how do you explain boss's attitude towards Miss Ningxi? This time, Shishao was speechless. He choked and mumbled. How would I know? I was so scared that I peed my pants. Previously he almost thought that the boss was an imposter. Chengfeng, who was busy dealing with documents, could no longer bear to listen. He raised his head and glanced at the two of them. What do you two single dogs know? This is the power of love. The car drove all the way to the safe zone. In the hotel, Lu Tingxiao brought her directly to his suite. First, he led her to sit on the sofa, then went to the balcony to make a phone call. A moment later, Cheng Feng delivered a PSP game console, fashion magazines, and a bunch of snacks. After settling Ningxi down, Lu Tingxiao began to convene a meeting with his subordinates. There was a window in the middle of the meeting room, from which he could clearly see Ningxi in the opposite living room. She really did not leave his line of sight at all. Chapter 451. Sitting among a pile of game consoles, magazines, and snacks, Ningxi had a feeling that she was a pet waiting for its owner. After a while, Cheng Feng, Shishao, Xiongji, and several others came in. The other subordinates who hadn't seen Ningxi before were all surprised to see a pretty girl sitting next to Lu Tingxiao. Shishao and Xiongji looked at Ningxi, who was sitting on the sofa with a magazine in her hand, and the corners of their mouths twitched. Ningxi wasn't in the mood to eat, drink, and have fun at this moment. She secretly glanced at Lu Tingxiao and quickly sent a text message to a certain bastard while he was concentrating on his work. Yin, you son of a bitch! In order to express her anger, she typed countless exclamation marks. Soon the other side replied. Cloud Radish, say that again. Fuck. How dare he threaten her? He's in the right. Ningxi typed furiously. As you wish. Son of a bitch. Cloud Radish Ningxi. You're asking for it. Ningxi looked at this line of text and got angry. You don't even allow others to talk about the wicked things you've done. You can't beat them openly, so you sneak attack them. Such despicable and cowardly behavior. Calling you a tortoise is an insult to tortoises. About 10 seconds later, the other side replied. Cloud Radish, I sneak attack them? Ningxi continued to quickly type a message and sent it over. Who else could it be? Don't tell me that Philo and Alice are not your people. This time, the other side replied almost instantly. Cloud Radish, you guys are fighting. Ningxi snorted. Nonsense. If I wasn't smart and brave, I would have lost my life. Of course, this is not the point. Don't change the subject. Cloud Radish. Honey, of course this is the point. At the same time, in a bar in Las Vegas, dazzling lights, deafening music, and men and women on the dance floor were reveling in a drunken stupor. In the middle of the bar, under a huge spherical crystal lamp, in a spacious and luxurious booth, sat a blonde Italian man. The man was handsome, but his eyes were a little evil. At this moment, he was surrounded by a large group of beautiful women with hot figures, and they were drinking and having fun wantonly. It was a scene of debauchery and debauchery. Just a few steps away from him sat a black-haired man with an oriental face. The man sat alone on the spacious sofa, wearing a Bluetooth headset and a laptop on the coffee table in front of him. He exuded an unapproachable aura, like a cold and silent humanoid weapon. No matter how merry the people in the bar were, no one dared to get close to him. It formed a strange and distinct contrast with the Italian man's debauchery. A moment later, the black-haired man nodded respectfully in the direction of the computer, then got up and walked to the Italian man opposite him. He asked in a calm tone, Mr. Augustine, were you the one who ordered Firo's actions? The blonde, blue-eyed Italian man raised his drunken face. Firo. Oh, that's right, it's my order. What's the matter, my dear comrade? The black-haired man said expressionlessly. You've touched someone you shouldn't have. Someone I shouldn't have touched? The Italian man had an absent-minded look on his face. Then, as if he suddenly remembered something, a look of realization appeared on his face. You mean that woman? Chapter 452. The Italian man shrugged innocently and said, My dear friend, you can't blame me for this. The person I wanted to kill was Lu Tingxiao. She came to me on her own accord, killed all my men, captured Alice, and ruined all my plans. A cold glint flashed across the Italian man's eyes. The beauties who were clinging to him earlier did not dare to approach him. The black-haired man did not seem to notice. He said expressionlessly, Mr. Augustine, you've violated our alliance. The Italian man stood up shakily and smiled nonchalantly. He reached out to pat the black-haired man's shoulder. Hey buddy, relax. Satan hasn't made his move yet. I'm just giving him a hand. The black-haired man dodged Augustine's attack with lightning speed. His face was still expressionless as he said, Mr. Augustine, due to your unauthorized actions, I'm afraid I have to officially inform you that from today onwards, our alliance ends here. The Italian man was stunned at first, then his expression changed instantly, and he said in a gloomy tone, Do you know what you're talking about? Whose order was that? Satan. The Italian man shoved a beauty aside. His expression was extremely cold. Then let him talk to me personally. You're nothing. In the next second, the black-haired man turned the laptop on the coffee table to face the Italian man. The computer screen showed a dimly lit room. A man was sitting on a spacious chair. The man's silhouette was shrouded in darkness. Only his head and long legs could be vaguely seen. Satan, you're breaking our alliance. Just for a woman? The Italian man looked at the computer screen angrily, like an enraged lion. In contrast to the Italian man's rage, the man on the screen sounded as if he had just woken up. He spoke lazily and casually. Just for a woman. You're messing with me. The Italian man treated it as a random excuse. He kicked the table beside him. His handsome face was extremely hideous. You're breaking our alliance. You better think about the consequences. The man on the screen seemed to chuckle. Consequences? Tang Yi, tell Augustine this. Yes. The black-haired man nodded and looked at the Italian man. His cold eyes were devoid of any human emotions. From now on, all the deals between us will be terminated. As soon as he finished speaking, the drunkenness on Augustine's face finally dissipated. His eyes were scarlet red, and his handsome face was incomparably twisted. The termination of all transactions also meant that they had lost 90% of the source of firearms. Alright, since that's the case, I'll let you know the consequences of betraying an ally. As soon as Augustine's voice fell, the music in the bar abruptly stopped. 7 or 8 burly men with guns slammed the table and stood up. The pitch-black muzzles of their guns were aimed directly at Tang Yi. Now all they needed was an order from Augustine to turn Tang Yi into a sieve. However, at this moment, Tang Yi suddenly took off his gold-rimmed spectacles. Then he stood up and straightened his cuffs. When he looked up at Augustine again, the indifference in his eyes had turned into a perverted, treacherous, and crazed look. Even his tone had become more sinister. Mr. Augustine, I think you're mistaken about something. Chapter 453. You stupid weakling. What did I do wrong? Augustine said viciously. Suddenly, a joyful chuckle came from the computer. Hee hee, what an interesting title. Tang Yi, have a good night. After saying that, the computer went black. Augustine felt an inexplicable sense of unease when he heard what the man on the computer said just now. The black-haired man, Tang Yi, was Satan's second in command. He was extremely sensitive to numbers, and was in charge of the organization's core accounts. He was protected by a group of experts, but he himself was completely helpless. This weakling was alone in his territory. What kind of danger could he be in, however? Although he had never seen Tang Yi in action, it did not mean that he was completely helpless. Even if he had some skills, he was surrounded by his men. Moreover, there were so many guns pointed at him. What could he do? Augustine's expression became more and more ferocious, and he ordered his subordinates to surround Tang Yi. However, at this moment, Tang Yi, who had taken off his glasses, suddenly transformed into a black shadow, and his speed seemed to exceed the limits of an ordinary human. In the blink of an eye, he had already escaped from the black muzzles of the guns. At that moment, Augustine felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if an indescribable evil had taken over his body. In the next second, a bone-chilling dagger was pressed against the main artery on his neck. The pain made Augustine even more clear-headed. Under normal circumstances, if you want to kill me, you'll need at least a fully armed special forces team. Mr. Augustine, are you looking down on me, or are you overestimating yourself? Without his glasses, Tang Ye's incomparably deep eyes were suffused with a hint of morbid madness. Ew. Tang Ye, you better think this through. You know the consequences of going against us. Augustine's body trembled. He never thought that Tang Ye's skills would have reached such a level. Mr. Augustine, allow me to remind you that this is Las Vegas. As I said earlier, you're the only one who needs to consider the consequences. As soon as Tang Ye finished speaking, the dagger in his hand flashed coldly. Augustine screamed in pain as one of his ears was sliced off. Fresh blood splattered and stained the ground red. Tang Ye licked the corner of his lips, his eyes filled with bloodlust. You should thank God that my dear junior sister is unharmed. It was your useless subordinates who died otherwise. Without waiting for Augustine to speak, dozens of men dressed in black surged in from outside the bar. Without saying a word, those men took out dozens of guns and shot at Augustine's men. In just a few breaths of time, Augustine's subordinates didn't even have time to resist before they were all dead. At this moment, Augustine's face was ashen. As expected, he should never underestimate the people around Satan. This time he had made a fatal mistake. Tang Ye put on his glasses and took a white handkerchief from one of the men in black. He wiped his hands and resumed his cultured demeanor. Mr. Augustine, consider this a lesson for you today. I hope you'll remember it. Hearing this, Augustine covered his bloody ear and nodded. His eyes were filled with fear. I understand. I'll leave Las Vegas immediately and never come back. Chapter 454. Thank you for your cooperation. Having said that, Tang Ye led the men in black straight out of the bar. Augustine's face was full of fear, and at the same time his heart was filled with anger. He would settle this debt clearly and get it back with interest. A bunch of lowly yellow-skinned people. One day, I will send all of you to hell. As soon as Augustine's voice fell, Tang Ye moved slightly and the dagger in his hand shot out like an arrow. Ah! Augustine didn't know what happened. His left ear was cut off by the dagger. Mr. Augustine, it seems that the ear is just an unnecessary decoration to you. Having said that, Tang Ye finally walked away in satisfaction. In the bar, there was only Augustine who kept wailing miserably, and the ground was littered with corpses. In a hotel in Philadelphia, after sending the text, Ningxi threw her phone away in frustration. After the other party replied with, "Of course, this is the main point," there was no more reply. This feeling of being controlled by someone at any time like a puppet on strings, and being on tenterhooks all the time was terrible. She was lucky this time. What if she encountered a more difficult opponent next time? Ningxi stared blankly at Lu Tingxiao's cold face behind the glass window. A faint light flashed across her eyes. No. I can't continue to sit here and wait for death. Lu Tingxiao, who was listening attentively to his subordinate's report, suddenly raised his head and looked in Ningxi's direction. Ningxi immediately sat up straight and looked like an obedient child. After thinking for a while, she found a piece of white paper and a pen and wrote a line of words. "Mr. Boss, can I go to the bathroom? If you can, please take the pen." After she finished writing, she raised it and waved it in front of Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Lu Tingxiao noticed the white paper in the girl's hand. After seeing the words on it, the corners of his mouth that had been cold all this time curved up slightly. The subordinate who was talking paused for a moment, a little dumbfounded. Lu Tingxiao calmly picked up the pen on the table, changed his posture and reminded his subordinate, "Continue." After getting an affirmative answer, Ningxi slipped away. She felt as if she had returned to her primary school days, where she had to raise her hand and ask the teacher for permission to go to the bathroom. As night fell, the meeting finally came to an end. Shi Xiao talked to Cheng Feng as they walked. Even now he was still in a daze. So boss already knew that there was something wrong with Hong Jinhao. He deliberately let him go. This time, he also deliberately went deep into Philadelphia. His goal was to find out who the person behind him was. Cheng Feng nodded. Yes. However, the final result was a little different from what we expected. Although the enemy appeared in Feiqing as we expected, they were not the people we expected, but another group of people. Our plan was also disrupted. This time, if it weren't for Miss Ningxi's unexpected appearance, You wouldn't have been able to delay the arrival of our people. You might have really died there. Shi Zhao's face flushed red when he heard this, and he said with a muffled voice, "Even if I really die there, I can only blame myself for being inferior. This time, it was indeed that woman who saved me. I have nothing to say, and I'm sincerely convinced." Although this incident was within his boss's plan, he felt even more defeated. Boss had repeatedly told him not to act rashly and to think twice before acting. However, he still believed Hong Jinhao easily. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.